Let's go ahead and see what we've got going on. Jessy Hefner is a member of Team Lotus. You can see there with that fancy hoodie. Looks like he has on 2 different hoodies. It is cold in here, not going to lie.
I really like the Team Lotus hoodies. Also, a great name for a Magic team.
I mean, it is a good card.
There's a couple good Lotuses, actually.
What if they're named after the card Lotus Veil?
That's what I'm saying. There's a couple good Lotuses.
You think that's a good card?
I'd like to reserve judgment.
Do you not know what it does?
Not at the moment. I would prefer if you didn't call me out. But, you know, it's all water under the bridge.
There is Lotus Petal.
Yeah, Lotus Petal is great.
It's Lotus Cobra.
I love that card. I would love to play that card in a constructed tournament and feel good about it.
So what if we did a Lotus Power Rankings? Obviously, Black Lotus is number 1. That's the Chris Anderson. You got Black Lotus.
Oh, yeah.
Top
tier.
He's the captain. But where does it go from there? Lotus Petal is very good, but is it better than Lotus Cobra?
You know, this would be so cool if they all had on their Lotus hoodies a specific Lotus card to show their ranking.
Yeah.
And then we had the Lotus Veil person come on and we'd make fun of them.
Lotus Veil still is a good card, so I'll tell you what it does.
Okay.
When it enters the battlefield, you have to sacrifice 3 lands. And I believe they have to be untapped lands.
Okay.
But it taps for 3 mana of any one color from Weatherlight.
Not very good against Ancient Grudge.
No, it's a land. It's not an
it's
artifact.
a land.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. Never mind. I thought you said, okay. Anyway, let's get to this matchup.
So we got, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
2 untapped lands. Only 2 untapped lands. So Nathan Golia is going to go down to 18, fire off a Gataxian Probe, and we're going to see a hand here. Stoneforge Mystic, Abrupt Decay, Source to Plowshares, Deathrite Shaman, Tundra, Tropical Island,
Absolutely
and a fetch
great
land.
hand from Jessy Hefner. Just absolutely perfect. So one of the great things about this hand is it has everything it needs without having to cast any cantrips. It just has a clean curve of 1 and 2 and even has a removal spell.
Must be nice.
Must be nice to just have what I need.
So we've got a Deathrite Shaman here from Jessy Hefner. Now Nathan does have some answers to these 1 mana cards. You know, things like Lightning Bolt are ways to handle it, but it looks like we're going to get maybe a Daze on that Deathrite Shaman. It's in the graveyard.
The turn 1 Daze without using your mana is a little rough, even for a Delver deck.
Hopefully he floats. And then Brainstorms.
We'll see.
Yep, he's going to float and Daze.
All right.
And then Brainstorm.
Yeah, I don't know. The turn 1 Brainstorm is the weakest Brainstorm, though.
It is. Ooh, see, there's the Delver.
That's what he needed.
You're supposed to start off with the Delver and then Daze.
He's got to switch those 2 cards. We got to tell him that for next game. Someone, table judge, will have to tell him to put the Delver in his opening hand next time.
So Nathan's gone ahead and countered Jesse's Deathrite Shaman with the Daze. It's like he has a Deathrite Shaman of his own, but he's just going to go ahead and Wasteland. Now that's interesting because he saw that Jessy had 3 lands in his hand with the Probe, and is still going to go ahead and Wasteland. If he had a way to cast that Deathrite Shaman, I feel like that might have been better as a way to steal back the play, but there's a chance that he just doesn't.
Yeah, I also would have liked to have seen Nathan cast the Brainstorm, and after he saw his hand, decide if he wanted to Daze the Deathrite Shaman, because he might have been able to just let it resolve and bolt it, and then Daze the Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic is a card that you kind of don't want to resolve because it has a come into play ability. Or trigger, I should say. Well,
he dazed, like he had the mana floating to play around a Daze from Jessy.
It would have had to have been a top deck Daze, though.
Yeah, it happens.
Not with Esper Deathblade?
Wait, does he have Daze?
Esper Deathblade usually doesn't.
No, he doesn't have Daze.
Yeah, okay. Either way, it seems like he was playing around Daze, though. So that is good reasoning for his line of play.
So we've got a couple fetches from Jessy. He's going to cash them in. His Pluto Delta Fledge Strand. It's going to go down to 18. And I think we might see a Trinum Nemesis coming here.
Good old TNN. Not as popular as it used to be when this card first broke onto the scene. It was pretty devastating. A lot of people were playing it. It made certain decks get pushed out of the format. Like I know Jim Davis, he was playing Goblins, and one of the reasons he stopped playing Goblins because he just could not deal with Trinum Nemesis, and it was Jite.
Ooh, so it looks like we just got an Abrupt Decay on the Delver of Secrets. off of Underground Sea Savannah. If there's ever an unholy there's ever an unholy matrimony of two Magic cards coming together to cast one spell, it's Underground Sea and Savannah.
Yeah.
So Nathan has now finally found a black mana source, so he can cast this Deathrite Shaman that's in his hand.
So I'll be a little surprised if Nathan plays around Daze, but I think it is pretty normal for Jessy to play around Daze. So we may see Jessy make a lot of his plays without using one of his mana every single turn.
So Nathan also is going to put his Engineered Explosives on 2, since he does know that Jessy has that Stoneforge Mystic from the earlier probe. And just going to pass it back. So it looks like Jessy does have a... Ooh, is that Painful Truths?
I think that is Painful Truths.
Ooh, baby.
Legacy All-Star, ladies and gentlemen. Painful Truths. He does have a copy of... It's going
to draw 3 cards.
So it's the new Ancestral Recall.
Now, I actually have a rules question. If you daze my Painful Truths, and I pay a colored mana for your daze, do I get an extra card?
I don't think so. But you could check with the judge.
I believe that's a good question.
I believe that's mana for the daze, not for the Painful Truths.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't add it to the cost.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so if it gets taxed one with, like, Thalia, then yes, but not from the daze.
So this is something that's a little tricky with the Engineered Explosives. I don't think Nathan really wants to use the Engineered Explosives to kill the Stoneforge Mystic, because Jessy can potentially just play a 5th land and hard cast the Batterskull. I think that this Engineered Explosives is probably going to be saved for Anumazawa's Jitte.
Ooh, so we've got a Gurmag Angler. That's going to be a little bigger than a Batterskull.
Yeah, that is a nice play.
Delving a whole bunch. The full 6. So now he has a 5/5.
5/5 is pretty big. You know, it's funny how certain powers and toughness can be just so backbreaking.
So Nathan is going to pop that Engineered Explosives, get rid of the Stoneforge Mystic. Now Jessy does have access to 5 mana with his Deathrite Shaman, but Nathan can counter his Deathrite Shaman activation by using his own Deathrite Shaman. So instead he's just going to draw 3 cards, which is never a bad prospect.
Yeah, and again, Jessy can afford to play things at a slower pace. His deck is advantaged in the longer game, so we'll probably see him make plays where he's playing things a little slower, likely to play around Daze if he can afford to. And in this case he can, because Nathan doesn't have an overwhelming amount of pressure.
So Jessy's just going to play a scrub land after casting his Painful Truth and pass the turn back. Nathan's been able to find a copy of Ponder, which is going to be really good as he is Hellbent. Jessy also found a copy of Thoughtseize off of that Painful Truth, and it really isn't going to do much because Nathan has no cards in his hand.
Yeah, definitely not going to be particularly useful. The one good thing is that if Nathan ends up casting a card this turn, Jessy's going to know that the coast is clear to play his Batterskull. And the Gurmag Angler, it'll be able to hold off the Batterskull, but it will not be able to race it. So that will essentially lead to a board stall, which I have to imagine favors Jessy.
Yeah, at the very least, he can just put that Batterskull on his Deathrite Shaman.
Yep.
What's better? Nothing's better than a Vigilance Deathrite Shaman.
You get activations, attacking, lifelink.
Just has it all.
Now this is interesting.
So he's just chumping? Trying to save some life? Okay. I can get behind that. I guess he does have a land, so he can still play around Daze.
Yep.
He is just going to leave his opponent with an active Deathrite Shaman, which could prove troublesome, since now he can just win by eating instants or sorceries for 6 turns.
Yeah, Jessy has quite a few cards in hand. We know one of them is basically a dead Thoughtseize, but if he can land that Batterskull, he should be in pretty good shape going into the later parts of the game. And I think the only thing he's really worried about is getting tempoed out. So I don't love that block with the Deathrite Shaman, but I can certainly understand that he just wants to preserve his life total, and he thinks that he'll win if the game drags out.
Yeah, also if he just happens to find a copy of Swords to Plowshares to handle that Gurmag Angler, this Batterskull is going to be difficult for Nathan to handle.
Yeah, usually these Grixis decks have almost no answers for a Batterskull. Sometimes they'll play their own Smaths to Smithereens or Ancient Grudge or something like that, but usually they'll have 2 or less of those cards total, and sometimes they'll have none.
So we're going to get a Thoughtseize from Jessy, putting him down to 8. He's going to use his Flooded Strand to go down to 7, and now he's going to cast his Batterskull, but this means now he's going to have to chump that Gurmag Angler. Otherwise, he's just dead to the 5 damage plus an activation from that Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, don't really love casting the Thoughtseize there. I can understand his desire to want to make sure his Batterskull resolves and make sure that he sort of knows what's up. But sometimes you just sort of got to say, well, if you have it, I lose, and I'm just going to accept that. And if you don't have it, I'm going to set myself up to win in the best possible way.
And so we're going to see an Alex Bistecki is going to enter the battlefield here.
Super nice guy. I roomed with him for PT Honolulu.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was great, too, because I didn't realize that it was a weird Canadian holiday, and Vancouver was insanely expensive, so I was late to book a room, and the only ones that were left were, like, insanely expensive.
Was he, like, Jeremy?
No.
All right.
He was more mad scientist-y.
So we get an attack for Nathan. Ooh.
And that'll block. And
then we get a True Name Nemesis off the top for Jessy Hefner.
Yeah.
And that's going to turn this game around significantly.
Yeah, for sure. If Jessy already had that off the Painful Truths, then all of his lines of play make sense. The chumping with the Deathrite Shaman, the Thoughtseizing before the Batterskull. As soon as he gets to this point in the game, there's almost nothing that Nathan can do.
And he had his Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, just had it all.
So now we're going to put a Batterskull on this True Name Nemesis, and this is real rough for Nathan Golia.
Yeah, this is just lights out.
So that's going to attack for 7. It's going to gain Jessy some life.
And we haven't seen this as much lately, but for a little while when True Name Nemesis first came out, we saw this all the time. It really felt like if you weren't playing a Stoneforge Mystic True Name Nemesis deck, you just weren't cool. So, and the thing is, even if Nathan deals with a Batterskull, he has no way to deal with the True Name Nemesis.
Yeah. So Jessy's going to attack for 7 again, go up to 23. This attack should put Nathan down to 4. He basically has 1 turn to draw something. I don't think Nathan has anything in his deck that can stop this. And then generate explosives, but he already used it. A smash to Smithereens, but that is only a temporary reprieve.
Yep, and that about does it. Nathan's seen enough. Jessy has punched Nathan in the face quite a few times and gained quite a bit of life on his own part. And we see that the guy on the team, Team Lotus, those team members are doing well.